Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to present the new construction workshop for home buyers. My goal is to really help you understand the process, give you some tips, some guidance to make this journey more enjoyable and for a better outcome for everyone. So to introduce myself, my name is Renee.Pratt. I've worked in design and construction for over 20 years. Specifically, about 15 of those years, I worked for builders. So I have helped hundreds of clients navigate the process of new construction. I've assisted with budgeting, with permitting, and all of those details that go into making that dream home a reality. So I'm excited to share my knowledge, my experience with you to help make this process more enjoyable. So this is what we're going to cover in our workshop. We're going to talk about the different types of new construction. We're going to talk about the new construction process and then top tips for building your dream home. And then at the end, I have a bonus. So make sure you stay to the end so you can get that bonus as well. So let's talk about the types of new construction. So you'll hear different types of new construction. You'll hear somebody refer to a custom builder or a semi-custom builder, or what we also refer to as a track builder, which is typically your bigger development. So just to give you a quick breakdown of what these different type of builders are. So custom build, it's just that. It's completely custom. So you might already own a piece of land. You might be looking to purchase a piece of land, and then you're going to look at custom builders to build on that land. And like I said, it's just how it sounds, completely custom. They typically will have an in-house architect. You could bring a plan and you'll work with them to completely customize everything from the floor plan to all of the interior options. It's completely custom and built out to your wants and your needs. Semi-custom build, very similar. So again, if you own a piece of land or the builder might have some inventory lots to select from, you would typically, instead of building from scratch, they typically have in-house plans that they already work from, but do allow some modifications. Also, when I say semi-custom, when it comes to options, they might have specific vendors that they work with or specific options they already have in place to pick from. So semi-custom's a great option because you're still able to really customize the home. And then you have a development or a track builder. And this is when we hear about the big national builders, or you have a development that is putting in a number of homes. This is typically where you're going to pick a land and house package. So they have a development, you pick a lot that's already predetermined as far as the lots that you can pick from. You pick a house plan, and then they typically already have options in place. So you would have to pick from their options list and work with their specific vendors. And then you have a spec home or quick delivery. So this can be a great option because sometimes a spec home is early on in construction and you might be able to work with the builder, make some selections, make some customizations, or it could be completely done. So it's a quick delivery. You know, they have 30 days, they're ready to deliver on that home. So you get all the benefits of new construction without the wait time of new construction. So just to give you a breakdown, because you'll hear a lot of these different terms as you're looking through working with builders and looking at different options for new construction. So let's talk about the process of new construction. So there's 9 steps that I like to talk about when I talk about the process of new construction, starting with selecting the right builder, the agreement of sale, establishing a budget, financing, selecting the building site, design and planning, the construction phase, closing and handover, as well as post-construction. So let's talk about selecting a builder. So when you start to do the research, you might have a number of builders in your area that you're going to look into. So some of the things that you want to do when you start to research is ask for recommendation from family, from friends, from real estate agents that might have worked with these builders previously. They'll give you true insight and true experience. If you're looking at a development, I always recommend walk around the neighborhood, ask the neighbors, what was their experience like with this builder? You know, what would they do differently? What do they wish they knew before they started the process? That is really, really helpful. What do they like about the neighborhood? Do they like the neighborhood? They like the development? You can really get some great advice from people currently living in the neighborhood. Check social media. A lot of times these developments will set up their own social media groups so they can communicate with each other, talk about, upcoming things. So this is great to look into the group, see if you can get any insight onto the development. Always check online reviews and ratings. And then, of course, you want to verify the builder with their licenses, insurances, and certifications. The other thing you want to consider is most builders, the way that they work is they will have their own team that works directly for the builder. These will include a project manager, a field supervisor, and then a lot of times they'll have on-site laborers that will come in after the subcontractors clean up, but then also do some touch-ups throughout the house. But they also hire subcontractors and vendors. Now, subcontractors, what does that mean? So the framer is a subcontractor typically, the flooring company, the kitchen company, the HVAC company, those are all typically subcontractors hired by the builder. So while you're doing your research on your builder, you also want to understand who are their subcontractors and vendors, because you want to do the research on them as well. You want to understand the flooring, the kitchen, who's going to actually be building and working in your home. And keep in mind, builders will typically work with a number of subcontractors. If they're a bigger builder, they might have, multiple framing crews. They might have multiple vendors that do their flooring in their kitchen. So when you walk through a model home, it might have used one set of subcontractors versus when they go to build your home, they might have another team that works on in that particular area. So you want to ask those questions, and you also want to do the research on the subcontractors and vendors. So here's top 5 questions that I recommend that you ask your builder. Can you provide references? Ask for home buyers or homeowners that have already worked with the builder. See if you can have conversations with them. Again, just like when you're walking through the neighborhood, you want to talk to them. You want to understand what they loved about the process, what they might have done different, any recommendations they have for you as you go through the process. So ask for references. What about the timeline? So timeline is super important because this could affect, depending on if you have a house to sell, if you need to be in the home in a certain amount of time. Some builders can build a home in 90 days. Other builders, if it's custom or semi-custom, it could take 6 months to a year. So it's really important to understand what those timelines are with each builder. What customization options are available? So you might have a particular vision of something that you want your new home to look like. So you want to ask those questions. I've seen builders where they send you to different kitchen vendors and you can kind of pick whatever you want. You can really create that dream home. But I've also seen where builders have pre-selected kitchens, flooring, like it's already pre-selected for you. So you only have the option to choose from maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 options. So you want to ask those questions to make sure that you understand what options are available. What's included in the base price? So as we get further into the workshop, I'll talk a little bit more about pricing and preparing yourself for a budget. But you want to understand what's included in that base price of the home. Most builders will have a standard features list as what's included in that base price, but you want to be able to prepare yourself for what those expected costs might be as you go through the process. And then what warranty or guarantee does the builder offer with the home? So every builder is different, but most builders will have at least a 1 year, and I used to refer it to as bumper to bumper warranty. So everything in the house is covered under that first year. Some builders might have a 2-year, they call it a 210. So 2-year bumper to bumper, and then 10-year would be your structural warranty. But then there's also warranties within those warranties. So your appliance might have its own warranty, your HVAC system, your roof. So you want to understand, all of those different warranties and ask the builder those questions. So now let's talk about the agreement of sale. So I'm always going to recommend when you're going through the process of new construction that you have a real estate agent helping you through the process. They can really be a valuable tool to have as you're navigating this process, because when it comes to the agreement of sale, especially, it can be very complicated. So every builder will have their own agreement of sale. if you've purchased a home or you've gone through the process of purchasing your home, typically there's something called a standard form for the purchase of real estate. So that's a very standard form that a real estate agent would use to submit an offer and put you under agreement on a purchase of a home. When it comes to a builder, they have their own agreement. And with the agreement, there are so much information included in that agreement. So it's really valuable to have somebody to help you navigate that, whether it's a realtor or an attorney. Really navigating that is very, very important, because you want to make sure that you truly understand their agreement. So with the agreement of sale, some of the things that are going to be included are going to be standards, the standards of construction. What is the house? What's included in the base price of the house? What type of construction are they using, from framing? What type of, plumbing are they using? What type of electrical are they using? Is it 100 amp, a 200 amp? So there's so many details in the agreement of sale. Timelines for construction. This will tell you how long they expect construction to take, whether it's 90 days, 60 days. Also, the language will be in there if they surpass that timeline. What is the outcome? What is the protection for you? The payment schedule. So if you're building a custom home, a lot of times the payment schedules will be included in that agreement of sale, as far as draw payments, when you would have to make certain payments as the construction phases happen. Warranty information, what the builder's warranty is, that will typically be in the agreement of sale. Substitution of products and vendor information. So you want to understand too, what is their process as you're going through construction if things get back ordered, discontinued, no longer available. So what is their process? Will they, reach out to you? Will you get to reselect, or will they have the power to make a replacement, of equal value to what you originally selected? So that information should be in there as well. Any penalties. So what happens if you put in a change order? You change your mind on something. You want to, change the color of the tile, but has the tile already been ordered? So you want to understand, what are those, any penalties? If there's a change order, is there a fee related to that change order? Additional costs you could be subject to. So you want to look for this as well. As construction is taking place, are all of your, prices, is everything guaranteed, or are you subject to any upcharges? Say, a kitchen cabinet price increased. Are you subject to that difference? Say they need to bring in more dirt as they're grading out the lot. Are you subject to that cost? So all of these should be listed in your agreement of sale. So you want to make sure that you can locate them and you understand what those mean. The customer service process. So every builder is different on how they handle customer service, but typically what they'll have is, if they have a warranty for 1 year, they'll have specific timelines where, you will submit what we would call a punch list. So at 30 days, these are the things you notice that need to be addressed, and you would submit that to the builder. Again, at 6 months, a year. So that should be in the agreement as well, as far as how that customer service process will work. So again, I would consider working with a real estate agent to help you through this process, or even have an attorney review the contract, just for added peace of mind. Like I said, every builder is different. I have worked with builders where the contract was 30 pages. I have also worked with builders where it was a very simple contract and it wasn't too complicated to navigate. So again, working with a professional to help you navigate that will help you, with added peace of mind. So when it comes to the agreement and it comes to negotiating, a lot of times I'll get the question, or people for some reason think that you can't negotiate new construction because the price is listed, the options are listed, but it's real estate. It can be negotiated. So there's just a few things that you want to understand, just like you would with resale. What's happening in the market. You want to ask the builder representative about certain things that are happening in that particular neighborhood. This will help you understand if there is some room for negotiation or if there isn't any room for negotiation. So ask about recent settlements. Did they settle 10 homes last month, or were they slow on settlements? What's the current inventory? Are they down to their last couple of lots, or do they have a number of lots they're still trying to sell? How many houses are currently under construction? Also ask about current incentives. Like, are they offering, certain free options or certain, closing costs, or ask what those incentives are. The more information you have, this will help you truly understand, what would be a reasonable negotiation as far as additional options, money off the base price. But again, I will say, if you work with a local real estate agent, they can also help you really understand the market around that development, around the area you're looking to build, just to really help you navigate that process of what would be fair as far as any negotiations. So let's talk about budget. Now, this is super, super important to have a conversation, truly understand your budget before you even jump into, talking to a builder, walking into a model home. You really want to understand your budget. And the reason I say this is most clients will spend, and I've worked with hundreds of clients, so I really understand what they end up spending on their options, their upgrades as they go through the process. But it's typically somewhere around 10 to 20% that they will spend on their options and selections once they go into the process of designing the home. So how you want to look at it is you want to look at your overall budget. So say, for example, your overall budget is 500,000. You want to kind of backtrack there and say, okay, then I need to find a house plan that works for me, a builder that has a house plan somewhere in the $400,000 range. That way, when you're going through the process, you really understand, the money that you have put aside, that 10 to 20%. And that way you can navigate that process and pick those options and have some money, to spend as you're customizing the home. This is where I would see clients get, upset, feel like they just don't have the money to build the house they want because they went in to a model home and they picked the house plan that was at the top of their budget. And then once they started to go through the process, realized, well, that's not included. And, oh, I have to pick that. And that's an upgrade. And and it just gets very overwhelming. So if you go into it by taking a step back and really planning intentionally that overall budget, it will make the process so much more enjoyable. And when you're looking at floor plans, there's going to be a number of different options: 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. I tell people, don't look at, they kind of go into the process thinking, I need a house plan that starts at 3,000 square feet, or I need a house plan that's 4,000 square feet. I want you to look at it a little bit differently. I want you to look at it and make a list of what those needs are. I need 4 bedrooms. I need to have an office. I need to have a kitchen that has an island that's open to a family room. What are those needs? I need an ensuite for 2 of the bedrooms. Really make a list of what are those needs, and then find the house plans that fit those needs and see where they align with your budget. A lot of times when you walk in and you're thinking a certain square footage, you end up buying or settling for a house plan that doesn't really suit your needs and could exceed your budget. You might find that a really well-designed house plan is under that square footage that you actually thought you needed. So, again, this could be kind of a lot to navigate as far as the house plan and the budget. But, if you go into this intentionally, it can really make for a wonderful outcome. So again, when it comes to budget, plan to spend 10 to 20% of your overall budget on options. So look a little bit differently when you're looking at the base price of the homes offered in that community or offered from that builder. You want to be a little bit lower than your overall budget, so you have that bucket put aside to really customize the home. So types of financing needed for new construction can be a little bit different than what you will typically run into when financing a resale home. So let me just tell you the difference between you might hear some of these terms: turnkey versus construction loan. So turnkey is what you're probably most familiar with if you've gone through the process of purchasing a home in the past. So turnkey is going to be when you're working with a builder, they own the lot that you're going to be building on. So it's more of a land home package. So what's going to happen is you are going to provide the builder with a down payment, and then the rest will be mortgaged once the house is complete. So you'll start with the down payment with the agreement of sale. They'll go through construction of the home. once construction is complete, they will have settlement, and that is when you will settle. The mortgage will be put in place on the home. So when it comes to a construction loan, this is set up a little bit differently. So when you hear construction loan and you're talking to different lenders, if you are looking to purchase a piece of land and then hire a builder to build on that land, this is when you would use a construction loan. And when you're talking with lenders, that term can kind of, some lenders might think you might be talking about, a construction loan. You're buying a resale and you need some money to fix up and rehab the home. This is a true construction loan. So you want to explain to them that this is what you're looking for, is you're purchasing a piece of land and you're looking to have a builder build on that land. So the way a construction loan works, it's a little bit different. I always recommend to work with the lender. They are the experts in this. If you need help finding a lender in your area, just let me know. I have a couple in our area that are fantastic when it comes to construction loans and really helping you understand the differences between a construction loan and a turnkey. So the way it works is if you're looking to purchase a piece of land and have a builder build on that land, you will go under contract on that piece of land. You will go through the permitting process with the builder. Now, once permits are in place, approved, ready to go, the builder's ready to go, you will have settlement on the construction loan. So it happens in the beginning versus the end. So you'll have settlement on the construction loan. What will happen at that settlement is you will purchase the piece of land. So the mortgage company will fund the payment to purchase the piece of land. You now own that land. And now the builder is able to build on that piece of land. Now, what will happen from there is as certain milestones are hit with the builder, framing is complete, the roof is on, drywall is up, the bank will go out, they'll do an inspection, and they will issue what we call a draw payment to that builder. So there will be different milestones that the builder has to hit, and then the bank will fund those draw payments to the builder. At the end of construction, once the final UNO, use and occupancy, is done, and keys are ready to hand over, the bank will fund the final payment to the builder. The builder will hand you the keys. So there's no official settlement with a construction loan because it already happened in the beginning. And then that loan will convert to, a conventional loan or whatever arrangement you have with the mortgage company. So I always recommend, again, to talk to a lender, but this just kind of gives you the differences because you will hear those terms if you're speaking with different builders and you're comparing maybe a custom home versus a development. So turnkey versus construction. The other thing you want to understand about financing when it comes to new construction is something called a bridge loan. I've had so many clients go this route because they have a house to sell. They've been in that house for 10 years. They've built up a lot of equity. Their new home is going to take 6 months, so they don't really want to have too much time in a rental or temporary housing. So what a bridge loan is you would basically speak with a lender about putting a bridge loan in place, and they would use some of the equity that's in your current home to fund the new construction home as far as your down payment, so you can get that process started. So this is always a great option if you have a house to sell and you have a good amount of equity in that home, but you just don't want to put it on the market yet. So selecting your lot. So there's a couple different ways of selecting your lot, whether you're purchasing a piece of land versus a development. So when you're looking at a development with a builder, they will have a plot plan that you can, look at the different numbered lots and decide what lot you think would be best for your home. But a couple of things that you want to do as you're going through that process is really examine that lot. So once you narrow it down, you really want to examine that lot with the builder. Go out on site with the builder, establish what the boundaries are of the lot, discuss placement of the home. It might already be predetermined where the home is going to be placed on the lot, but can you move the home a little bit forward towards the street, away from the street, depending on if you want more backyard, more front yard. So have those conversations. Look at the surrounding environment. A lot of times people overlook this and they, in the future see something that they weren't expecting. So you really want to understand what is around you. Are you going to have houses on both sides, a house behind you? Are you backing up to open space? What's the, you can never determine if there is a lot behind you, what could potentially be there, but maybe it's protected open space. So ask those questions and understand, everything that's happening around you. Understand the grading of the lot, the terrain of the lot. Is it going to be sloped? Is it going to be flat? That might help, make a decision if you're in between two lots and you have certain plans for that lot. So definitely understand what that grading looks like. Ask where the underground utilities are and any stormwater management that might be put in place, because this could affect where you put your future pool, your patio. You really want to understand, if you have a buried propane tank in the middle of your backyard and that's where you're envisioning that future pool, that could be a problem. So have those conversations, because sometimes they could move that to a different location. So just understand where any of those underground utilities are going to be located. Also, contact the city, the township, and understand what some of those regulations are when it comes to setbacks, because certain townships, certain cities have different setbacks. So they might say a fence has to be 4 feet from the property line, a pool has to be 15 feet from the property line. So understand all of that so you can start to plan and make sure that that lot makes sense for any future plans that you have for that lot. So let's also talk about land purchases. So if you're deciding to buy a piece of ground to have a builder build on and not go the route of building in a development, it is a little bit different as far as finding that right piece of ground. So this is where, again, I'm going to recommend that you work with a realtor or a real estate agent that understands land, because it is a very different process when you're going under agreement for the purchase of land. So work with a professional that really understands that process. You also want to kind of understand some of the area requirements. You're going to hire professionals when it comes to engineering, your builder to handle permits, but understand what some of the area requirements are. So as you're looking at different lots, you can quickly rule something out. Like where we are, you need to have somewhere in the neighborhood of an acre of land if you're going to be in an area that requires septic and well. So that's one requirement that you might want to understand. If it's a half acre and it's public, you wouldn't have an issue. So some of those local requirements that are specific to that area you're looking to purchase land in. You want to understand land costs, because land, you'll see, varies in cost. There's so many different variables when it comes to pricing land, even setting aside a budget for land. What I like to do is refer to a 1/3 rule. So if you have a budget of $600,000, you want to put maybe about $200,000 in your search for land. So that gives you some direction. You should be looking for lots in that $200,000 range. Now, again, this is going to vary on area, location, size of lot, what might have already been done to the lot. You might find a lot that has nothing done to it, which we refer to as raw land. So no testing has been done, no permits have been put in place, no development has been done to that piece of ground. If some permitting, some testing, some engineering has been done to the lot, the price could be a little bit on the higher side. So you want to kind of understand, but understanding that about 1/3 of your budget is what you want to, tentatively budget for that search for your land. You also want to make sure that you have the right contingencies in place when purchasing land. And again, working with a professional, working with a real estate agent, an attorney to help you put those right contingencies in place is super, super important, because once you go under contract for a piece of land and you start to spend money on the research, you want to make sure that you have the contingencies in place, that if for some reason you cannot build the home that you want on that lot, that you can now back out of that offer. You want to make sure that you have language in there that talks about you are going to obtain building permits before you purchase that piece of ground. So there's a lot involved when it comes to kind of navigating that. I'll tell you a very quick story about a buyer I worked with. They purchased a 10-acre lot. And they did it within 30 days. They found the ground, they put an offer in, and they settled. They came to me. We started to talk about different options of house plans and what they wanted to build on the lot. And when they provided the information on the lot to me, I started to do research to give them ideas of what certain site improvements might cost, Well, I quickly discovered that access to the lot was going to be an issue, meaning there was no good place on the lot coming off of the road to put a driveway in. So what ended up happening, long story short, it was 2 years, a lot of money in engineering. And if they had had the right contingencies in place, it would have made the process so much easier. They're happy, they're in their home, it all worked out, but it just took a lot of extra money for them to spend, a lot of extra time. So really making sure that you're doing that due diligence before you purchase a piece of land is super, super important. The other thing I want to mention is sometimes land's not available in the area that you're looking in. It's just really hard to come by. But there's also other options. We call them teardowns. So you might find the perfect location, the perfect size lot. The home fits within your land budget. And you could consider that for a teardown. You purchase that home and you have somebody tear down the house, and then you can build on that piece of property. So there are other options when it comes to finding that right piece of land if there just isn't a very big land inventory in your area. When it comes to financing land, one thing I will mention, we talked about the construction loan, and that would be the way to finance, but you will, sometimes I have clients ask, well, I just want to buy the piece of land now and I'll build on it in 5 years. You can do that. A couple of things I will say is if you are financing the land, if you don't have a builder in place or a plan in place, permits in place, a lot of times financing will be more expensive through a lender if you don't have, like I said, a builder in place or permits in place. And then the other thing I'll say is if you go to purchase a piece of ground and you have plans to build on it in the future, I also say do some due diligence, because understand that what the requirements are today could be very different in 5 years. When I started in construction years and years ago, it was very easy, not as complicated to get a permit in place to build. You would submit a house plan, a grading plan. Now there's so much involved when it comes to getting the permits in place. There's a lot of regulations when it comes to stormwater management. There's environmental things that you have to consider that the townships and cities will consider. So it could be very different in 5 years. So it's, or 2 years, or you just want to make sure that you understand that and that it makes sense if you want to go ahead and purchase the piece of ground before having a plan in place to build it. So now we are to the fun part of the process, the design and planning. So you really want to have very detailed conversations with the builder representative or the builder if you're working directly with the builder. You really want to understand what the available options are. You want to really review that floor plan, elevations, any design choices. So you really want to have those conversations. I also, if you're building custom, semi-custom, or even with a developer that might have more options available, I would recommend possibly hiring an outside designer to help you navigate that. It can get very overwhelming, and just having somebody that understands the process and really can help you navigate, because there are certain options that are going to make sense to do now with the builder while the home is under construction. And there are going to be other options that make more sense, could be a cost savings if you do it later down the road once you're in the home. So you want somebody that can really help you navigate the must-haves that work within your budget and things that you could possibly do later. Plus, it gets very overwhelming when it comes to all the different selections of colors and, styles that you're going to be, offered. So you want somebody that can help you navigate that as well. So when it comes to options and selections, you'll hear a couple different terms, structural options. So these are going to be the options that have to do with the structure of the home. So framing, any add-ons as far as, say you want to add a sunroom or you want to add a bathroom. So this is going to be the structure of the home. And typically when you're working within, timelines, you're going to have a certain amount of time to make these decisions. So some builders might give you 10 days. Some builders might give you 20 days. So this is where you have to make those important decisions so they can start the process of developing your house plans to get those ready for permitting. And then once the house is in for permitting, you'll start to work through your design options. Again, there will be a timeline. They might give you 30 days, 45 days to work through all of your options. You might have to visit either a design studio that the builder has where all of your options are under one roof, or you might have to build or go see different vendors, like a kitchen vendor, a flooring vendor, different offsite vendors that you might have to visit. But design options are going to be really where you start to really customize. You get to pick your kitchen cabinets, your tiles, all those fun features to really personalize your home. And then we have custom options. So those are really going to be very specific options that are not things that they offer. So they might have a standard options list, but you have asked for something that's not on that list. When I worked in the design process, I would get a lot of Pinterest pictures of things that they wanted in their home, which is great. It's really helpful to be able to understand what you're visualizing by using a platform like Pinterest. So they would submit, this is what I want my fireplace to look like as far as the trim detail, the mantle, and then I would price it out for them, and that would be considered a custom option. So again, there's a number of options that you will be presented with. Have fun navigating it. Again, if you work with a professional designer, or sometimes the builder has a designer, but rely on them to help you navigate through all the different selections. So the construction phase. So this is when you get to see all of your hard work start to come to fruition. So let's talk about what happens during the construction phase and some of the things that you want to consider as you navigate this. So you will typically have scheduled site visits. So there will be certain times along the timeline of construction that you will be meeting with the representative on site to review. They might have a framing walkthrough where you walk in and you walk through the home while it's just completed framing, and you verify electrical locations or plumbing locations. So they might have another one at drywall. So once the drywall's up, you walk through it again with a representative. So when you have these walkthroughs, you want to document the progress. So I always recommend, don't take pictures of a house that's framed or drywalled. You want to take video. Find a place where you can kind of have a starting point and take video. When you take photos, they all start to look alike. So really having some detailed videos. So when you go back in years to come, whether you want to do a project, an addition, a renovation, you can really kind of refer back to those videos and understand what might be located in some of those walls, whether there's an HVAC chase or some plumbing. So it's always good to take videos. Also during these walkthrough, this will be a point where you can really start to, take a look at quality of materials, the workmanship, any concerns you can address before they move on to the next stage. So you want to make sure that you're attending these walkthroughs. Some builders will give you very limited, they'll call you and say, we can have our walkthrough in 2 days. And it might be difficult to get, with your schedule, but I always recommend that you make sure that you make time for these walkthroughs. They are super, super important. It will also help you monitor the timeline. So you'll be able to see, how quickly are they getting through construction? Are they hitting my timeline? Does it look like I'm still going to be able to settle on the date that they told me? You can also, document anything from any changes that might have happened. So if you were just starting construction and you decided to make a framing change, when you're at that walkthrough, you can confirm that, yes, that change made it into the field. And yes, that was changed according to that change order. You also want to make sure that you are doing your final inspection. So once construction is complete, you will have a final walkthrough, just like you would if you were to buy a resale home. You'll have a final walkthrough before construction. You'll have a detailed walkthrough with the builder. This is where you will put together a punch list. So if you notice something that looks incorrect or the workmanship isn't there and it needs to be fixed, you want to create that punch list and have the builder take care of those things prior to closing. So now we're at the exciting point of closing. You're about to get your keys. So just a couple things that you want to consider when you're getting ready for closing and finalizing everything. And like I said, getting those keys in hand. So make sure you have all your final documentation all taken care of, all necessary documents signed, all your warranties and manuals, Most builders, it's become kind of a norm. They will pick a kitchen cabinet drawer and they will throw all your warranties in that drawer, but make sure you go through them because a lot of times there are warranties that you have to register for. So take some time once all, you're unpacked and you're moved in and you have, a few hours to sit down and go through it. You also might want to consider hiring a home inspector before that closing date, just for added peace of mind. So when builders go through construction, cities and townships have certain inspection periods where they come out to make sure that the builder is following code, things are getting done before they can continue. So there is steps in place to make sure that everything is being built to the codes that are in that particular city or township. But it's always good to have a professional inspector just give the house, an outside perspective for that added peace of mind. Again, final walkthrough. You want to verify that those punch list items have been addressed that you brought up at that final walkthrough. And then the closing process, finish all that necessary paperwork and get those keys so you can move into your brand new home. And then once you're in, let's talk about post-construction. So there's definitely some things you want to consider once you're in the home. You've moved in, there's a lot happening. So this is one of my checklists that I just recommend, breezing over, have handy, make sure that you've taken care of all of these things now that you're in your home. But again, warranty information, like I just discussed, make sure that you're filling out any of those registrations, a maintenance schedule. So come up with a schedule. There is still maintenance with the new home. Yes, everything is brand new, but you still have to change the filters. Make sure your hose connections are turned off when the weather gets too cold. So there's certain maintenance items you want to make sure that you're still taking care of and you have a checklist for with your new home. Homeowners Association. If you have an HOA in your development, make sure you understand what those rules and regulations are. Homeowners insurance, make sure everything is in place with your homeowners insurance. Same thing with utilities and service. A lot of times the builder will have the utilities in their name while construction is happening, and then they will turn it over to you once settlement happens. Security measures, anything that you have to do, install that Ring doorbell, get any alarms in place, any cameras, make sure everybody in the family understands the new layout of the home, any emergency prep that you need to do. Again, if the builder offers a homeowner orientation, which is more detailed as far as how to change the filter, how to, turn off your hose bib, how to do those homeowner maintenance, make sure that you do attend that if that is available with your builder. And then just educate yourself about any upcoming costs. Again, it's new construction, but there are still costs that you're going to want to consider that don't always come into play when you're purchasing resale. So you want to really understand what those future costs might be with your new home. So keep in mind, every builder's different. They're going to have their own set of standards, their own set of inclusions, but really working with professionals, whether it's a realtor, it's a designer, it's an attorney, make sure that you're working with professionals to help you make this process smooth, enjoyable, and really help you create that dream home. So now it's time for our bonuses. We've made it to the end here. Thank you for sticking around. I hope that this gave you some guidance, some tips if you took something from it. But a couple other things I want to offer to you are a few of my top design tips when it comes to designing your home, along with my new construction guides. So if you've made it to this part, shoot me an email. Let me know that you finished the workshop and I will send you over the new construction guide. So one of them is going to be a checklist and then the other is going to be a design guide. So as you're going through the process of designing your home. Again, my email is right there, renee.pratt at exprealty.com. Just send me a quick message asking about my new construction guides and I will send those over to you. So let's talk about a couple of my tips when it comes to designing your new home. So your main stairs. This is always, it could be as you walk into your foyer, the first thing you see. But this is an option that will typically, if you're on a budget and you're taking things off your list, putting things on your list, this is one that I would see a lot of people pass over on because it tends to be a higher priced option. But just want you to kind of understand how this works so you can make the best decision. So I'd have a lot of clients say to me, you know what, I'm just going to pull the carpet off my stairs and I will do it myself later. And that's fine. And you can do that. But a couple things I want you to consider. When you have a carpeted stair as the standard and the upgrade is what they typically call oak treads painted risers. So the tread where your foot goes, that is your tread. That is what would be oak. And then you would have your painted riser, which would typically be pine. If you do the standard carpeted stairs, they will install pine instead of oak. And they typically do not install a high grade pine. So it's a very, very soft pine. So every staple, every nail is going to really leave a mark. So when you go to pull off that carpet, you're going to have a lot of possible damage, not the best quality wood to be working with if you wanted to sand it down and stain. So a couple things that you can do. One, try to navigate where you could maybe try to work this in your budget and get it done, with the builder. This one does make sense to do with the builder, depending on their pricing. But most times, I might see this option range from 1,500 up to about 5,000. So that's kind of the range you can see a main stair upgrade. But if you were to say, yes, I really want to do it myself. I want to leave the carpet. I want to, do this at a later stage. Ask the builder these questions. Can they install a higher grade pine? And can they make sure the painter does not overspray on your stairs? That means when the painter comes in and he sprays, he'll just spray down the staircase for the wall and it'll get all on the stairs. So now you have a lot of sanding to do to get that paint off. So if you prepare the builder for what your future plans are, they can help you prepare to make that process easier. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is in the kitchen. This gets overlooked so much. And I just want to point it out. Maybe you already know it, but it really does get overlooked. A lot of people don't ask the question when they're working with the kitchen vendor. Ask the question, understand. But most standard kitchens would include this cabinet here, which is the same depth as your wall cabinet, which is 12 inches. What I want you to ask your kitchen vendor, your builder, is how much would it be to extend that cabinet out to a 24-inch depth with 2 side panels? It's typically not that much of an upgrade, but it makes a world of difference. It really gives it a more customized look. And this is just one way, if you're on a budget, something that you can add to give you a more custom look. When it comes to countertops, a lot of times more and more builders are offering solid surface tops as a standard, which is great. There are some still out there that offer laminate tops, but I am seeing more and more solid surface. So with solid surface, typically when you go into a solid surface showroom, granite, quartz, they typically have as their standard what they call a 4-inch backsplash included with the price of the countertop. And that's what this is in this picture on the right-hand side. You can see that little 4-inch backsplash. What I tell you to do is delete it. Tell them you don't want it, take it off. You want the countertop to be seamless to the back wall. That way you can either do a tile upgrade with them, with the builder, or you can do tile yourself after. This is an upgrade that I typically see is more of a cost savings if you do it yourself after construction. That way too, you won't have visually that line separation. It just makes it flow so much nicer if you don't have that 4-inch backsplash. So definitely ask the question, does it include a 4-inch backsplash and can I delete it? Next, I'm going to talk about your primary tile shower, even secondary tile showers, anywhere you have a tile shower. This, again, is not typically a large upgrade, but makes a world of difference. Most builders, you'll see where they stop the tile about 1.5 feet, from the ceiling, leaving that exposed drywall. Yes, it's waterproof, but still it is exposed drywall that you will need to paint, that could possibly peel. It just becomes kind of a maintenance nightmare. So I always suggest, also for the look, it looks 10 times better, tile to the ceiling. Ask the question, how much will it be just to bring the tile to the ceiling? It gives length to the shower. It just creates a really seamless, beautiful look for a minimal upgrade. So definitely ask that question. And then I just want to help you kind of be able to identify. You'll find that some builders will construct their homes with what they call 2x4 construction or 2x6 construction. So there's a quick way to be able to understand there's a lot of advantages when you have 2x6 when it comes to the structure of the home. And a good way to identify, which one they're building with without just asking the question is the depth of your windowsill. So here you can see this is 2x4 construction. It has a narrow windowsill. And this is 2x6. You can see you have a nice deep windowsill. 2x6 is an excellent construction feature. Ask the question. If it's not how they build standard, ask what it is for the upgrade. Like I said, there's so many benefits with building with 2x6 construction. And then here's just a quick view of my checklist, of my planner, that if you just shoot me a quick email, I will send those over to you. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. I really hope that this offered some guidance, some tips. I wish you all the luck. Feel free, if you have any questions about new construction, about the design process, just send me an email. I'm always happy to help.